This is Sawyer Robertson, and you're listening to the Bearcast on SicEm365.com.
Welcome into the Bearcast on SicEm365.com. I'm your host, Grayson Grundhoefer. Today, I'm here with Colt Barber as we go through our best bets in the Big 12 heading into week number 4 of the college football season. Before we dive into our predictions, let's go through our week. It was not a good one. Last week, we were undefeated 8-0. This week, Colt went 2-2. I went 1-3. Here's how it played out. For Colt, Kansas State versus Arizona, you took the under 54.5. Final score is 23-17, so very much the under. It only got to 40, so there's a hit there. Colorado minus 6.5 at Houston. Houston won 36-20, so a miss there. Pitt minus 6.5 at West Virginia. West Virginia won 31-24 in overtime, so a miss there, which I also missed in what was a pretty
big win for the Big 12.
It was, but it was a pretty bad one for us. West Virginia scored in the final seconds to tie that game, or else we would have won that one as well. You also had Texas State at Arizona State. You took Arizona State minus 15.5. They won 34-15, 19 points there. So a hit for Colt, bringing you to 7-4 on the season. You went 2-2 on the week. For me, I missed on Colorado at Houston under 48.5. The final score was 36-20, so 56 points there. Thanks, Houston, for that one. Utah at Wyoming under 48.5. Final score was 31-6, so a nice easy hit there. Pitt minus 6.5 at West Virginia. Again, missed on that one. Texas State at Arizona State over 59.5. Final score was 34-15, so only 49 points there. A miss. I went 1-3. We are tied at 7-4. Now,
hey, that's pretty
Colt,
good numbers.
What'd you think of the week?
I'll take 7-4 overall through 3 weeks. I mean, that's about for both of us. I'm like, if you're breaking even, you're doing pretty good. But I like this. I think we're on a good track. Yeah, I think the Utah one, like you hammered that when you knew being like Wyoming. And honestly, man, I watched that game, the beginning of that game, and I don't know what the final score ended up being. And you probably just said it.
31-6. Yeah.
But that, like, I like Utah a lot. Like, I think they have something there, but I think it kind of shows their offensive ceiling. Is that the right word I'm looking for? Like, I think there's just something there. Like, they don't throw the ball.
Limitations, maybe.
Limitations, yeah. Like, they don't throw the ball down the field a ton. Like, they have some playmakers, but not a lot of explosive type of playmakers. And I think that could catch up with them in the Big 12. But overall, I mean, the Big 12 got West Virginia great. They got the Big 12 a good win. I mean, over the ACC, another win over the ACC. But Baylor had one. Hopefully TCU can get one over SMU, even though it makes Baylor look better early in the season this weekend. But yeah, I think we're starting to learn what these Big 12 teams are, and picking these games are much easier. Obviously, you go 2-2 and it's not great, or you went 1-3, but like it gives us more data points to go and pick these games. So I'm excited to pick this week and kind of see how these unfold. But the challenging part is now I look at these lines for this week. I'm like, I don't really know like what there's a little bit more effort that has to go into because we know more about both teams. So it makes the strengths and weaknesses more obvious in these matchups.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's going to be something that we're going to be talking about during this entire show. But yeah, the Pitt West Virginia one should have been a hit for both of us. That's just a bad beat right there. In Colorado, Houston, we both talked about that game. And unfortunately, Houston, I did not foresee them running Connor Wigman 18 times and him being as effective as he was as a runner. So that was something that definitely jumped on my radar. And also, I probably turning down Colorado a little bit. Like I thought they would be good this year, looked good against Georgia Tech, and then they inexplicably went away from Caden Salter to this other guy.
Happened there.
Something
happened there.
And now he's the starter again. They named him the starter for this week. Yeah.
Well, they played him the entire game against Houston. So not Caden, the Staub kid.
Yeah.
And so like I'm watching that game and I'm like, man, this looks like did the UNC quarterback Gio Lopez transfer to Colorado at some point? That's exactly how it felt. It's like this kid is not he doesn't have that strong of an arm. He's kind of gritty, makes some plays, and I think maybe Dion was trying to make a point. I don't really know. But through that game, I'm just watching like you've got to get somebody else in the game. Like it's halftime and you're not doing anything. Like let's make a change. And they never did. And like Houston's defense is going to be pretty good. I don't think they're as good as kind of they made him look, or as bad as they made him look with Staub playing and they give up 20, but I don't know. That was a weird game. Like, I didn't think that if Caden Salter plays in that game, he's athletic and has a big enough arm and can make enough plays that game's not a rout like it was.
Real quick, Sawyer Robertson has something to remind you about.
Want the latest information about your favorite team? Try out Sigum 365 premium content the next 3 months for just $5 by clicking the link below.
And now, back to the Bearcast. Agreed. And we both crushed the Utah at Wyoming under is the one I got. And then you got the Kansas State, Arizona under. Both of those were not even close to the total. So we did really good on those as well. Slower pace games, grinded out games, and games that just kind of got ugly.
Still struggling though.
Yeah, man, their offense, Avery Johnson just, oh man.
What do you have, less than 50 passing yards?
I think it was a little more than that, but it wasn't good. I mean, he's got multiple games under 100 yards passing now. And man, people have brought this up, and I remember thinking at the time how crazy it was. But I mean, Kansas State probably wins the Big 12 championship last year if they would have just kept Will Howard, and then they might have a different quarterback this year. It's
13
just, man, you got to pick and choose.
13 of 29 for 88 yards.
That's
rough. That was a guy that, I mean, like, look, Arizona's defense is probably decent. I like the way they play, but that stat line is not that's an FCS. That's Sanford QB versus Baylor last week. That's that type of stat line. Like, that's not good. Like, I don't know where they're going in the direction, and we're kind of turning this into a Big 12 podcast rather than just a game picks, but like, that's rough. And then throw in this, Kansas State had 105 rushing yards. 75 came on one play.
Yeah.
75-yard touchdown. 30 yards rushing on 23 other carries against
and it
Arizona.
Was a receiver. It was a receiver who had the rushing touchdown.
Dylan
too,
Edwards
so wasn't even a running back. Yeah,
Dylan Edwards did play in that game, which I don't know. He's been in and out of the lineup, but 4 carries for 13 yards. Avery Johnson, 7 carries for negative 16 yards. Like, this is a guy that, like, he's a freak running the football. Like, are they just making I don't know, man. Like, I love Kleiman. Like, I think he's a great coach, but I don't know what's happened right now. Like, and even truly the way they finished last year. I mean, you go back to the end of last year, and I don't know what they are in their last 10 games or whatever, but they have just kind of been a shell of that Kansas State program. And I don't follow closely enough to say hit the panic button, but like, they're going to struggle to get a lot of playmakers up there offensively. Avery Johnson's electric, but if he's having to do it all by himself, that's an issue. I don't have Deuce Vaughn up there right now.
I think it's been mentioned on our board, but I think the Matt Wells hire has been a complete failure because that's not really what Avery Johnson needs, and they're missing Colin Klein calling plays badly. I mean, look at how A&M is operating with Marcel Reed. That's the vision for Avery Johnson, right? And that's not what's happening. So, all right, Colt, let's dive into our picks this week. Go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, so I'm starting with this one, and this is two pretty bad, I feel like, teams. It's UCF versus UNC. You have two teams that have played Power 5 opponents. UCF has played. They scored 17 points against, was it Jacksonville State?
Mm-hmm.
And then UNC scored 3 against TCU, who just got. They 14. Didn't get beat. 14. Well, you mean
14.
48, but it was 7 for a while, and they got a late score, right? And they haven't shown a ton of offensive efficiency on either side, UCF or UNC, and the over/under's 46.5 right now. This one feels like to me like the Kansas State Arizona game last week. I think you're going to see some teams try to run the football quite a bit, not be very opportunistic throwing the football, and I mean, what scares me a little bit about this game is just defensively how good are either one of these defenses. Maybe there's more points scored than expected. I just think it's going to be an ugly game. You can see it like 20-15 type score, like a lot of field goals in this game from both sides of the ball. But yeah, I like this one. The game is at UCF, and so maybe there's some offensive fireworks for that team that put up 69 points or something in their other game. But I don't see it in general happening. And so I'm going to under 46.5.
Yeah, I'm not picking that game, but I think I would lean towards the over just slightly because I think these defenses stink. So it's just like there could be a lot of fluky points in this game or just explosive runs. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that is just too not good Power 4 teams squaring off. And so
Hey,
that'll
big
be
chance for the Big 12 to get another win, though. I mean,
yeah,
like they've
another
already
Power
lost.
4 win.
Yeah, I mean, and this is also something to think about. We'll learn about TCU a little bit too from this game, just a kind of a data point on them since they destroyed. And if UCF goes out and beats North Carolina pretty bad, I think they have some athletes that possibly can. But if say they beat them by 14, that could be pretty telling. What is it right now? UCF's favored by what? 6.5.
6.5.
I mean, I'm almost tempted to go back and change it to UNC covering that, but I like the under quite a bit though.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, my first pick this week is one that I don't feel awesome about, but I just there's a feeling that I'm getting from this one. So West Virginia travels to Kansas. Kansas is a 13.5 point favorite. The over under is 56.5. The line is big. But I also think Kansas is pretty clearly the better team here. West Virginia's coming off of just this epic win, right? They won the backyard brawl. They spent all this energy to beat Pitt. They got momentum. They're excited about what's going on. Meanwhile, Kansas lost to Missouri and just got a bye week this past week. And now they're going into this game focused. They get a home game. I think they're about to blow out West Virginia. I don't think this game is going to be very close. I'm actually going to take Kansas minus 13.5 here. I think they win by at least 2 touchdowns. I was tempted to go the over-under, maybe take the under in this one. But for now, I think Kansas is they're going to have their way, I think, in this game against West Virginia. So give me Kansas minus 13.5. Even though it's a big number in Big 12 play.
Yeah, that one, I think my biggest concern with that would be Kansas' defense right now. And not that West Virginia is just juggernaut offensively, but they do have a scheme that might, with Rich Rod, they're going to run a lot of plays. They're going to try to, obviously create offense is what he does. But I'm looking at my differentials right now. Kansas offensively, 2.041 explosive play over 30 yards, but giving up 4 already, and their 4.65 is one of the worst in the Big 12 explosive play rates. I worry about the defense from that standpoint. I wouldn't want to pick this game. I don't know. I don't know how good is Jalen Daniels. Is he going to be consistently good this year? We didn't see it from a ton last year. I saw this game, and I thought it was interesting because that's a really big line for 13.5. I would actually probably gone the other way, but I didn't pick it. So good luck to you.
Yeah. All right. Give me your next one for this week.
Yeah. A game that is interesting because I remember BYU traveling to this game in 2020. It's when Jeff Grimes was still the offensive coordinator and BYU was undefeated. What the Zach Wilson had thrown for 1,000,000 yards that year. Go to ECU. And I don't remember if ECU won that game and beat them or it was really close. But I remember they're making a big deal about how far of a trip that was for them to make from Utah to ECU. I don't think that's an issue this year. They're favored by 6.5. I think they cover 6.5. I think they win by a touchdown or more, which that's kind of what I'm thinking. You're going to win by 7 points. I think BYU's talented enough. I think you look at the talent that they have added to their roster since that 2020 season, just being in the Big 12. I think there's a step up there. I don't have really any other reason that I just think that maturity of that team is better than 7 points, even though they're traveling on the road. So I BYU to cover over East Carolina over the 6.5 points.
That's a really interesting pick and one that I frankly was worried about because East Carolina played NC State so well.
NC State stinks though, right?
Game. No, they're not
NC State losing. I thought they lost to didn't they lose a game early this season that was pretty bad? I remember misremembering that.
Maybe, but I know it was on the road at NC State. It wasn't a home game for East Carolina. Now East Carolina's at home. It just does give me some pause as to, we don't know really how good BYU is because they haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah,
and so
we just don't really know about their quarterback position.
No,
either.
so it is at least another tick up for them. And so we'll kind of learn a little bit more about them. I definitely was kind of looking at that one. It's another one this week. There were a lot of games that were just kind of teasing me, right? Just like, man, okay, this looks good, but I'm a little nervous about it, and for various reasons. So that's going to be
the game that I remembered was the Virginia game, NC State and Virginia. Virginia was up 24-14 at half, and then NC State ended up. It was actually, let me see what this was, actually 20. I thought they got beat, and this is what I guess I misremembered that they came back, but it was 24-14 at half, and then they came back and scored 21 in the third to win that game. So, and Virginia just hasn't been very good this year. I say that I'm way
They're
off
better
on
this year. They were
2-1. They were
last
bad
year.
last year. That's what I remember. They were bad last year. But yeah, that's we'll see. This is one of the games too. Like, I just don't know enough about BYU and their quarterback situation to really be confident in it. But I like them going on just being a better team in general.
Definitely can understand that. All right. So my next pick this week is the big noon kickoff game. We're going to Utah. Texas Tech travels to Utah. Utah's a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 57.5. It's going to be interesting. I wish the line was 2.5 is where I'll start with this, but
that's an odd line.
It is. It's a tough one, right? Because you're not just getting a field goal there. You got one by a little bit more than that, especially if I'm taking Utah, which let me go through these details really quick. So last year, Utah was 2-4 at home. A couple of those games were really close. It was a complete outlier because they were so bad last year. I mean, they weren't a good team. Before last season, Utah was 32-3 in its last 35 home games.
Yeah.
They also never lost as a home favorite during that stretch. So the only time they lost was to really, really good teams at home. Maybe Tech's a really good team. I don't think we know that yet. And I think for that reason, I'm taking the home favorite here to kind of be a difference in talent. When you kind of look at what Tech's faced this year, they have faced 3 just horrible football teams, not good at all. And now they're going to Utah. And I know Utah hasn't really played anyone either, but I think that step up in competition is a big reason why I think Tech's going to go into this game and lose this game. I also think this is the first time Tech has left Lubbock this year. All 3 of their games were at home. I don't know how they got that to work that way, but 3 games against 3 terrible teams at home, I do not think sets you up well to go on the road to face a Utah team that has such good home field advantage, especially in a situation where you know their crowd is going to show up for this one.
It's going to be loud.
I think that place is going to be raucous. I think Utah's going to win this game. I think they, on purpose, didn't show their hand very much against Wyoming. They just kind of coasted. I think they're going to show a lot more in this game. I think Utah's going to win this game by at least 6 points, maybe by a touchdown, maybe by even more than that. But I'm going to take Utah minus 3.5.
Yeah, my biggest concern for Tech in this game is that they haven't really shown the ability to run the football, and they wanted to run the football. I mean, you lose Taj Brooks, who is a good running back, and you want to be able to go in. They just have, like, you watch them play, and even against Oregon State, when a game where you feel like you have a lot of advantages, you should be able to run the football, but they just went the route of throwing for 500, whatever yards it was, 475 yards, and they created explosive. Like, I don't know about their offense. Like, I think that you talk about the offensive linemen that they added, and I think solid in a right, but are you able to replace Taj Brooks in running the football? Have they done it yet? I mean, you might have the stats in front of you. That's my biggest concern going on the road. Like, you go to, like, if you're going to go throw the ball 50 times at Utah, I think you're in a bit of a bind. And I don't think Utah's just going to passively let them run the football either. So, like, they might say, yeah, we're going to play the pass, but they're not just going to vacate the run game. So maybe Tech has enough offensive playmakers that it doesn't mean that much, but they haven't been that good rushing the football this year. They've made some plays, but it hasn't been consistently. And that was my biggest question mark. Have they lost the running back from USC? Was what they're going to be able to do running the football. Defensively, I mean, until proven otherwise, like, I don't know I don't know if Tech's how good they are. I mean, we don't know through 3 games. Like, they have the names on defense. They have the guys that say, oh, yeah, they should be pretty good. Utah's going to test them specifically in the run game. And I know Lee Hunter's really good. They have the guy from Stanford, the edge rusher that's been really good. Jacob Rodriguez, we know he was a proven commodity. I think they have the pieces there. This is going to be a big test for them. I mean, a massive one.
Yeah, I think Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley are going to dial up something for this game. It should be really intriguing to watch.
That's the one thing that Utah. That's why you feel more confident in Utah. It's like Whittingham's done this, Scalley's done this. This isn't their offense might be a new scheme. They might do it differently on that side of the ball right now, but defensively it's the same old, and they struggled defensively some last year because their offense was so bad, but in general they were not a bad defense.
And their offense is not going to be bad. Like, I think we know that
there's
for
a baseline.
Sure.
There's a baseline.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of where I'm going there. All right, Colt, I know we have the same game coming up on this one, so let's dive into that. SMU travels to TCU. TCU is minus a 6.5 point favorite. The over-under is 64.5. Where are you going with this one? Because I think we have the same bet here.
Yeah, I went over the 64.5, and a lot of that's because of the way TCU played against Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian didn't score a ton of points, but they were very efficient throughout the game. It wasn't like second half, hey, we're going to put up some numbers against TCU who just backed off. In the beginning of that game, they were still moving the football. They had some issues not scoring the football, but I fully anticipate SMU is going to have the ability to make plays. Now, TCU is going to go and be aggressive and try to get them off schedule. That's the defensive coordinator, Avalos, I believe is how you pronounce his name, is known for creating havoc and going in and trying to attack offenses and get them off schedule. It's just all the other downs, when they miss, it creates issues. And truly, I would want them to be more efficient defensively than they were against Abilene Christian. I think both of these teams are going to score a lot. I think SMU's defense can be okay, but we saw against Baylor a good passing offense did a lot to them. TCU's going to be a good passing offense. I like the over here.
Yeah, the SMU secondary is about to get torched. They're about to get lit up again in this game.
I mean, I hope for the sake of Baylor TCU that they don't, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, this game doesn't really matter too much for Baylor. It'd be kind of nice for Baylor to already have, this SMU. If SMU won this game, like, it gives them nice early momentum, but game to play TCU, who has a better record, also wouldn't be too bad as the season goes on. So, I mean, from a cheering standpoint, definitely cheering for SMU because, I mean, I don't like TCU at all. But I think my biggest thing here, and I'm actually going over 64.5 as well. I think both these offenses are very potent. I think both these offenses can take advantage of some things. I do think TCU is going to win this game. I think a big part of it is they've looked better to me. I think SMU's kind of been a little bit sluggish. They didn't look good against Missouri State this past week. SMU beat TCU so bad last year. I think it only ended up being 24 points, but it was like 66-42.
Yeah,
and that
final score non-touchdowns.
It wasn't even indicative of how bad that game was. It felt like SMU beat them by like 50 points. And so I think there's some revenge factor there, but my biggest nugget, I like trends. And so here's a trend for you. Since 2006, so 20 years basically, anytime SMU has scored 20 or more points, this over of 64.5 has hit every single time. Every time that SMU scored at least 20, over 64.5 has hit every single time. They're scoring more than 20 points in this game, and I trust TCU to score plenty. And I think it's going to be pretty high scoring. I think the winner's probably going to score in the 40s. So that gives me some confidence here. So I'm going to take the over 64.5 as well.
Yeah, I mentioned the Abilene Christian. We don't know from the TCU's only played 2 games. They don't have the third data point. I don't think UNC's offense is that good to really test. But ACU, if you look at their overall numbers, passing and rushing, their quarterback 22 of 29 for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then they rushed 46 times for 177 yards. But if you look exclusively to their top 2 backs, it was 30 carries for 157 yards. So, like, they were – and that's Abilene Christian. Like, they moved – and they have a good offense. Remember, they played Tech last year. Yeah. Played them really well. And so I'm sure, there's some carryover from that. But it's not the same quarterback. McElver's gone, right? Like, he's gone to Western Kentucky. So, a lot of changes there. I think that SMU – even if they might not be as good offensively as they were last year, I don't see it yet because of all the receivers that they lost. I think they're going to move the ball on TCU's defense, and we're going to learn a lot about TCU, though. I mean, that game's upcoming for Baylor, and we'll see how they do against a passing offense that should be pretty good.
That would be very interesting. All right, let's dive into this Baylor game. Arizona State travels to Baylor. Baylor's a 2.5 point favorite. The over-under is 60.5. We're both going to give our best bets for that game. Colt, what direction are you going here?
I mean, I'm just taking Baylor to win. I like it outright, covering the 2.5. I think they win by a field goal or more. And I get right to that to say, like, this is a tough game to pick because I think there's equal reasons to be optimistic on both sides. I think the biggest factor is that I think Baylor is ready to win a home game. I don't want to say they're due for it, but I think it's just like last year. I mentioned this with TCU. They go and you just feel like it's a game that you kind of have to win. Like you feel like that you got to win it for the fan base, and maybe that's playing too much just into the mentality of winning big home games is important to Dave Aranda and this team. Like I don't think he views it that way, and they're not adding any pressure. But it just feels like a time they get it done. And I like truly that Baylor's facing an offense that's not going to stress them every which way nearly as much as they saw against Auburn and saw against SMU. And to be determined on SMU and Auburn in general as their offenses go, but I think we know how talented Auburn's offense was specifically. I just like this game kind of being played in a box in a lot of ways for Baylor's defense to really let them focus in on one thing. I just hope they can be physical enough. And I think they do enough offensively to get this win and cover the 2.5 point spread.
I think if you're picking this game, I don't think the 2.5 points really matters all that much. I think whoever wins this game will win by at least a field goal. I mean, sure, it could be a 1 point game or a 2 point game, but I'm not, abnormal. I don't really view that it's going to be like that. I think one team is probably going to have an edge kind of throughout the game. And I think the final score will probably dictate whoever had the bigger edge, whether it's Arizona State up front in the run game or Baylor's passing game will probably be the deciding factor, I would imagine. So I'm going to take Baylor minus the 2.5 as well. I picked Baylor to win this game. I think they're going to win this one close. I think it'll be probably like 3 or 6 points, 7 points, somewhere in that range, but I think it'll be more than the 2.5. I just think I trust Sawyer Robertson more than I trust Sam Leavitt, especially the fact that Baylor gets this game at home. I think there's a lot of momentum here for Baylor to win this game after the, just losing to Auburn. I think, they didn't lay an egg, but they certainly didn't play up to their capabilities. And so now you get another opportunity in a night game in a situation that feels kind of like a must win for you to reach your expectations that you had before the season. To reach those goals, you need to win this game. So for all those reasons, I'm going to take Baylor to win this one as well, minus 2.5.
Yeah. You talked about trends, and this is kind of a trend, but Arizona State was, I believe, 6-2 last year in one possession games. They won versus Mississippi State, at Texas State, lost at Cincinnati, beat Kansas at home, beat UCF at home by 4. These are all the one possession games. Beat BYU by 5 at home, and then finished the season pretty strong. Lost to Texas in double overtime. If that's kind of talk to that flipping from winning a lot of close games to losing, like this is a one possession game that they won last year. The Arizona State won last year. Baylor, on the other hand, like they lost 3 one possession games, and then one, I don't remember the exact record. I think that teams that are like that are kind of playing on both sides of kind of like playing with fire in terms of one possession games. It does revert to the means from a betting standpoint. Like my emotions aside, I like Baylor at home because both of these teams have played one possession games. And I think being the home team in this particular instance is favorable to Baylor in those one possession games.
Yeah, I think Baylor was just 1-2 last year.
They didn't have a ton of one.
No, the only
their wins
games that they lost were BYU and Colorado, because I think Utah got up to 9 or 11. So yeah, either way there, I think, the trend for Arizona State's different though. And they started the year losing to Mississippi State by a one possession game. And so, if those trends do flip, then that could favor Baylor pretty heavily in this one. But either way, I expect a close game.
Yeah, BYU was actually won 34-28. Remember, Baylor had a chance to go in and score at the end to win it, and they ended up losing by 6. So that was a one-possession game. Beat TCU by a one-possession, 3-point one on a field goal. But yeah, they didn't play a ton. Their wins at the end of the season were actually a lot by double digits.
They were 1-2 because Colorado, BYU were the 2 losses, and then TCU was was just 1-2. So this year
they won games 45-17, 2010, 49-35. 38-28 and 59-35, and so they didn't play a lot of one possession games. It was kind of alter ego to what. Whoa, excuse me, just pushed my button on my chair. I'll finish it down here. But they play opposite of what Arizona State did compared to last year. So I'm excited to see what this game entails. I mean,
it'll be very interesting to watch and monitor. But yeah, it'll be fun. We'll be back after this week to recap that Arizona State Baylor game and talk about whatever happened at McLean Stadium on Saturday, and we'll be back to recap all of that. But thanks for everyone for listening. This has been the Bearcast on SicEm365.com.
Join Sikkim 365 Premium on a $1 for 1 month trial to read our experts' notes and insights. Know about high school commits, off-season transfers, coaching staff changes, and so much more before the rest. Also, download the Sikkim 365 app on your iPhone today to get instant notifications of breaking news, read up on the latest inside info, easily interact with other Baylor fans on our forums, and get alerts for anything published by your favorite staff members.